Hello everybody and welcome to another team report on the channel. You guys can see the team quickly on the screen right here, but I am just however going to go back and jump into the origin story of kind of how the team went. But to start things off, basically this team has been doing really well for me in Series 9. It's cut the last few. If you guys have heard of the Rise of Galar circuit, if not, that's what it's been cutting, that's what it's been doing well in. I will put the link in the description there, so if you guys are interested, feel free to check that out. However, I say we jump right into the team report right now. So the original team, of course, was built by my friend Fiona. She goes by Yoshi and Lugia online. She is a really good player. She also does, I believe, stream from time to time. So feel free to check that out. I will leave her link in the description down below. However, she decided to run Articuno Galar as her anti-intimidator and the Gastrodon. Really cool team. I don't like Gastrodon personally, and I said, you know what? I really like Melodic. Kind of seems like Sand. Melodic just seems like something that could work. And I'm like, okay, let me try Milo on it. So went with Melodic, went with Rillaboom just because, honestly, the main reason I went Rillaboom was because back in 2017, another friend of mine has used Tapu Bulu Melodic. And I don't know, I thought, you know what, I like that concept. You get the lefties and the grassy terrain recovery, and that's what I went with here. And you know what, it worked, but it wasn't what I was looking for. Melodic was too passive. Like, they didn't care about intimidating Melodic, because even after the boost, it wasn't really doing much. So it was too defensive, it wasn't working. So I went to version 2, and I went, okay, the problem with Melodic wasn't Melodic, it was the fact that I was using it in a way that wasn't going to work. So I went with a more offensive Melodic here and a Lando. So Lando could basically Swords Dance up off of the Intimidates to put pressure on as well. And basically then obviously the Melodic just to steer people away from just straight up leading Intimidate. Team worked pretty well. Never really got anything into it. And that was pretty much that, and I kind of abandoned it. Now, we're still in Series 7 here, so this is before Series 8, so this is about mid-January. And this is back when the Desafio Latam circuit was going on. If you guys recognize that name, it may be because my last team report with the Yveltal Raichu team was also from that tournament, or from that circuit. Anyways, at this point, we're chilling mid-January now, and Fiona had actually just finished top cutting one of the tournament. I don't remember which one it was. I apologize for that, but she top cut a tournament with the original version down there, and that at that point, Gabe, the other member of quote unquote Sweater Gang, which is basically our friend slash team building group, decides to say, hey, okay, I cut a tournament with Moltres Galar. Fiona cut a tournament with Articuno Galar. Ryan, it's your turn, buddy. You gotta use Galarian Zapdos. And for those of you who don't know, I despise this thing. This is my least favorite of the birds. Of the Galarian birds, I should say. My least favorite. But you know what? I said, you know what? Maybe I will take you up on that challenge. So I went, okay, how do I use Galarian Zapdos? And then I said, well, my sand team that I was trying to make modeled off of Fiona's needed an anti-intimidate spammer. So you know what? That's how we ended up here. So we're not going to delay anymore, guys. We're going to get into the team. This is what you came for. We're going to start with T-Tar. First slot makes sense. T-Tar, meat and bones of the operation. Sand setter. Nothing too crazy, guys. Rock Slide, Lash Out, Superpower, Protect. Basically really standard. Weakness policy, T-Tar. There's not much more to it. Crunch calcs don't really change things too much. I decided to stick with Lash Out because it just makes more sense. Like, if they're going to try and Wormwind you, Lash Out just punishes. If they try and Intimidate, Lash Out just punishes. And it just makes a lot of sense. Obviously, sand, you need to sand for the Dracozolt. Perfect. I will touch on the EVs slightly. 204, 124, I believe lives the regular Urshifu close combat when I'm Dynamaxed. And if it's not 100% of the time, it's like 90% of the time or something like that. So it's not meant to be in front of an Urshifu, guys. Do not leave this thing in front of an Urshifu. But it was there as, you know, general bulk, and that was kind of the cutoff point. It was like, you know what, we can make it happen just in the off chance. And then we get the policy up and we just rip through them. It never came into play in these tournaments that I've been cutting recently. I'll put the tournaments somewhere. I'll have them up at the beginning. But nothing, it never happens, guys. Don't do it. Just don't leave it in front of Urshifu. But it is a nice last-ditch effort. The 76 speed hits 91, and I hate that I have to do this, but I had to outspeed max speed Amoonguss. I just had to do it. And the fact that people run max speed Amoonguss, like, I get it. It's actually not a bad mon. I just hate it. Like, I don't know. Max Speed Amoonguss doesn't resonate with me, and it bothers me every time I see it. So the fact that I have to prep for it is a little annoying, but that's what the speed investment is for. Uh, Nothing too crazy. Of course, Dracozolt, I would say probably the third best mon of the team. Yeah, yeah, third best mon. I'll stand by it. Third best mon. Boltbeak is absolutely destructive, guys. Now, keep in mind, this isn't your Series 6, your Series 5 Dracozolt with Hustle. This is Sandra's Dracozolt, and this is a Dracozolt you do not Dynamax very often at all. You're doing more damage more often than not by just clicking Bolt Beak in the sand. You're picking up things that you shouldn't really be picking up. You outpace everything, and it's really, really good. So, main reason I went Adamant, I don't remember the exact option. I don't remember the exact speed tiers, but I know at this point it outpaced Modest Regieleki. And at the time, back in Series 7, Timid Regieleki just wasn't a thing. It was a little bit of a thing, but it wasn't always a thing. There was a lot more Modest and Magnet Alekis going around, a little bit bulkier, trying to live Urshifu stuffs like Sucker Punch. Even the Wicked Blow, I think you could live if you made it bulky enough. But regardless of that, so I decided to go Adamant. You actually do get a lot more damage output by going Adamant. So I think it was definitely worth it. Decided to stick with it moving forward into this when Series 9 started. But basically, I didn't touch upon the moveset, just realized that Bolt Beak, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, Protect. Bolt Beak and Dragon Claw, two standard moves. No reason not to use them. Earthquake, you could have made a case for high horsepower. Of course, Earthquake is a nice self-proc for Tyranitar if you ever needed to. Basically, sometimes when people are like, oh, it's Dracozolt, so we're going to shut down the T-Tar, we're going to fake out the T-Tar, and you know what, Dracozolt, we're just going to intimidate. So what you do there is you max the T-Tar, click Earthquake, self-proc, and they fake out the max T-Tar, and you just sweep them. It's situational, but it definitely is a lot better than I think high horsepower, because you also have two flying types. So why not go Earthquake? I think it's a really good move. It also still picks up a Lucky even though it's spread, because Dracozolt's a beast. Regardless of that, nothing too crazy here, guys. It's basically, I don't want to say a standard Dracozolt, because Dracozolt's not too standard, but there's nothing crazy here. The EVs are pretty straightforward, and you know what? It's just a Dracozolt. Click Bolt Beak. Win games. Simple. It Oko's Finny. That's all you need to do. It's the Finny answer. And this is what I like about Dracozolt Sand, because most Sand teams with the Excadrill or the Dracovish, to me, they just lose to Finny. Whereas Dracozolt here kind of supports T-Tar a little bit better. Yes, you now have the ground weakness added to you, but that's patched by the two flying types into Swampert. So, I just think it covers the options a little bit better. Like, Sand could never really break Finny before, but now Sand can break Finny, so it's something that I really like to see. Zapdos Galar, we're going to skip Zapdos for now. Yeah, we'll go Zapdos and Swampert at the end. So we're going to jump into Celestiala. So, Celestiala, guys, don't ask me what the EV spread does. I honestly do not remember. It has been so long since I built this spread. The only thing I know for sure is the 84 speed investment was basically meant to outpace T-Tar by 1, just because I didn't want him to speed tie. I didn't need to outpace max speed Amoonguss with this, but I figured if I had Airstream, I might as well have a little bit of speed. So it's always nice to get an Airstream up before the T-Tar as well. Not that it realistically matters, because by the time Celestiala attacks, T-Tar is going to be attacking right after most of the time, but it is what it is. I actually did come across a spot in the tournament where I was actually at -6 because of Eerie Impulse, and I flash cannoned my own Tyranitar to get my weakness policy. So being faster does come in handy. It is a really good mod, to be honest. I do enjoy Celestiala. The Lumberry, original credits, all the credits on that go to Fiona. She had done on the original team. I think it's phenomenal. In formats where, they don't see the team sheet, they're going to waste a sleep powder into it, because chances are Venusaur doesn't want to be taking an Airstream. Venusaur wants to get this Celestial to sleep. So you take a Lumberry on it, and you know what? If they sleep powder you, you eat it, and if it's an open team sheet format, or once they know about Lumberry, you're still safe to stay in front of the Venusaur. So you can still Airstream that up just fine. Or even go for the Max Flare if they have the Sun, it does a little bit more. Nothing too crazy. Max Special Attack, you want this thing doing damage. It was super important for the Porygon 2 calcs. You would be able to lead Dracozolt Celesteela, assuming there's no hindering moves or anything. Bolt Beak plus the max Steel Spike. Normally picks up, sometimes it leaves it in red. It's pretty close, but there is options of just picking it off, which is very, very nice. It's not, I don't think it's the Trick Room answer, but it's definitely nice to have that option of just being able to drop things. Nothing too crazy. Standard moveset, Flash Cannon, Air Slash, Flamethrower, and Protect. We opted for Flamethrower just because at the time, obviously, Feral Thorns were a thing. Kartanas were not very relevant, but a little bit relevant enough to actually have. We didn't need the Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam would have hit, what, the Incineroars, gets dropped by Zapdos. The Rotom Heats that get dropped by T-Tar. Like, it just wasn't necessary. Even Rotom Heat loses to Swampert too, but like, it just wasn't necessary to have the Meteor Beam, so we decided to go Flamethrower. It just covered the team options a little bit better. And like I said, the EVs, I don't really know. All I know is we wanted to hit hard and be slightly faster than the T-Tar. Nothing too crazy there. Incin, AV Incin, really, 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 really solid, guys. It's just so nice because of special attackers. You can kind of come into the special attackers, snarl them down, and I've won games just by clicking snarl into special attackers. Eventually, they're either going to get fed up and switch out, or they're going to keep calm minding, or just eventually just attack. Especially like Tapu Fini. They're going to calm mind you, snarl it. They calm mind you, snarl it. They calm mind you, snarl it. Or even Celestiala. AV Celestiala is somewhat popular right now. You just snarl that down. It does nothing. And once you get them low enough and you're happy, you U-turn out and you start setting up your sand, you start setting up your T-Tar, and at that point they're hindered. Especially if you can somehow get the U-turn out, let the muddy water at -6 into your T-Tar, or -2 into your T-Tar. You eat that for days and get the weakness policy. So, kind of a really good concept there. Just shut down the special attackers. That's all it did. The main thing, I would say, is the Spectre Clef mode. Assuming they don't have the Thunders. A lot of them have Thunders now, which is a little unfortunate. But if they don't have the Thunders, you can kind of just lead Incineroar there. Even if they go Helping Hand Max Quick, you actually do not die. So you take that. That's basically one of the main reasons for this. Unfortunately, they do start running Thunders now, as I mentioned. But it is what it is. And you make the most of it. I mean, it's still a good matchup because you just go T-Tar mode. But you just go T-Tarzolt. You can literally lead Sand if they don't have Intimidate, because Dracozolt will outpace the Thundurus, and T-Tar deals with the Spectre, and then you can just pivot in and out. It's not too big of a deal there. Let's go Zapdos first, because I know everybody wants Swampert. Everybody wants Swampert, so let's go Zapdos first. Nothing too crazy here. Of course, Cobra Berry on this Zapdos, just because you don't want to be taking Airstreams. This thing's defenses are very, 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 very poor. It's not that bad. Like 90, 90, 90 isn't terrible. The problem is you don't take max Airstreams very, very well. Now, like, obviously, it is what it is. Like, back in the day, you would have never thought 90, 90, 90 was bad. 90, 90, 90 was actually really, really good. Now, because of Dynamax and max Airstreams and max Lightnings and all that stuff, you need to have a little bit more defense, I think. I don't think 90, 90, 90 is terrible, but based on its weaknesses and the things that are trying to hit it, like powerful max Airstream from potentially Thundurus, max Lightnings from Aleki, not that you live that anyways, but like I said, it's not the greatest, defenses in the world for this mon, but regardless of that, it outspeeds Urshifu. That's one of the biggest things for this. This is the main reason to have this thing, and obviously the anti-intimidate. Zapdos Galar, honestly, I did not bring it very often. And surprisingly, I found out a little bit too late. I did lose to a Colossal in the finals that it's actually a decent Colossal answer. Maybe I should have used it. Anyways. Thunderous Kick. We opted for Thunderous Kick over Close Combat just because the only time I'm really bringing this thing is when I'm going to be getting intimidated or with a chance to get intimidated. And if I'm bringing it, there's a 9 times out of 10 I'm going to be Dynamaxing it to get Airstreams up more likely than not. And then I can get Max Knuckles before I attack. Thunderous Kick put into a Thunderous Kick basically does the same amount as 2 Close Combats, which normally is 2 Close Combats you need to pick up a lot of the KOs anyways, and Thunderous Kick normally does the about similar amounts, not quite as much, but still picks up the knockouts you need. And you don't drop your defenses anymore, so we figured it was good there. Of course, we have the Taunt. The Taunt was basically one of the Trick Room answers, so it wasn't the greatest Trick Room answer, I'm going to be completely honest. It was like, okay, well, it's just kind of here. But if we ever get to a spot where, you know, they're going to be able to get Trick Room up. We can taunt it. You can also taunt the Venusaurs if they decide not to max and they're going to try and start sleep powdering you. You can, if, you know, that Porygon 2 Venusaur, that's a very, very common lead for a lot of Sun teams. And this does a pretty good job at dealing with that, right? Because you kind of force the max from Venusaur or the switch into the Torkoal, and it just gives you options, right? Like you can taunt the P2 to stop Trick Room, you can taunt a lot of things, you can taunt to stop the Sleep Powder, you can taunt to stop maybe a Yawn from the Torkoal. There's a lot of things you can catch with this taunt. It's really, really good. I didn't see a better coverage move to have. Like, I literally did not see a better coverage move to have. And then, of course, Protect, because you want to protect. It's a mon you definitely want to keep around as long as you can, especially if they have something like the Instant or the Lando in the back. But time for the mon everybody wants, guys. The mon everybody wants is coming. Did I go over the EVs? I can't ever did, but basically just a little bit of bulk. I don't actually remember what it's for. I really don't, guys. I apologize, but it's a little bit of bulk. I don't think it was you miss anything relevant with the attack that we dropped out. So I like this a little bit better. I always like throwing bulk into mons. I've never been a fan of 252 because to me that's not optimal. To me, there's always something with a little bit of adjustment that you can kind of agree upon. I think it's really, really nice. And this isn't very aggressive, right? Like I'm basically almost max, right? But just that little bit of adjustment. I actually did live a max Wormwind from a Dragapult in regular form without maxing, and I just took it with like 5 HP left. And if I was just 252, I don't take that. Now, chances are it's a damage roll, but it helps the damage roll, and I lived and I was able to win the game. So it happens. It's nice to have a little bit of bulk. It's nice to have extra things that aren't just 252. Like I said though, big MVP of the team right here. I would say second best member. Of course, Celestiala being the #1, Swampert being #2, and Dracozolt being #3. This Swampert. And a lot of you guys are going to look at this and say, Ryan, what are you running? And I'm going to answer that question with, I really don't know. Sometimes when I team build, I just come up with things and throw things in the builder, and they end up working. And this is, I think, one of those things. Obviously, the calcs are very much so calculated for, but the expert belt without a lot of special attack and a bold nature even, people are going to be questioning that. I know people question that. I've been questioned on it in the past. Why are you running expert belt? Then I've also been questioned, why are you special Swampert? I am special Swampert because the moment I go physical Swampert, my only special threat is Celestiala, and if my only special threat is Celestiala, if they have Intimidate on a team where maybe I can't bring Zapdos feasibly, then I'm kind of in trouble. So I need to have that second special attacker, and I just like special Swampert. Because Swampert's not a mon that's doing a lot of damage with its physical attack anyways. Yes, it's still 110, but that's not that much once you get intimidated, and its physical move pool is what? Does it get liquidation? I know you get flip turn, and I get an earthquake. I don't even think you get high horsepower. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. But either way, I decided on special. Really, really nice. Scald for the burns and earth power. My main reasoning for Swampert, honestly, was I wanted a water type and I wanted to beat Metagross. Basically, what you do against Metagross is you bring in Swampert or you leave Swampert if you think they're going to leave Metagross, and you click Scald into it and you go for the burn. The thing is, Metagross will waste 3 attacks going into you because it has to be scared of getting Scald burned. And you also have a Celestiala beside it as well, and you basically just wall it. You let them get the max, you let them waste their max, and if they can't proc the policy, they do nothing. If they can proc the policy, however, with like a Spectre Bulldoze or something along those lines, you have the Swampert here that can click Scald, and hopefully you fish for a burn, or you can just max the Swampert, and you eat the 2-3 max moves anyways. You eat 3 if you click Max Guard at one point. And you just sit there, and you stall out their max, and then once their max is done, you can bring in Zolt late game and outpace it and just drop it. You can have Steela, you can also go the Steela max route to, you know, max Steel Spike up, bulk up this Swampert, and you're just sitting there. Chances are you're getting 2, 3, maybe 4 Scalds into this Metagross, even when it's maxed. And eventually you're going to get a burn. You know, I'm not saying fish for burns, guys. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying fish for it. But if you have Celestial Swampert on the field, and you click Celestial and you max Steel Spike, Swampert is just not dying to Metagross. You have time to go for the Scald burns. And if you get the burn, the game is just over if they've maxed that Metagross. You can pivot the rest of that game, no problem. And that's just what it is. So Of course, Earth Power, really, really nice, just tech move. It's basically the Alecki answer as well. Pivot this to the end game, guys, for the Alecki. You can lead Celestiala Dracozolt, which is a very common lead for the team. I will touch upon some common leads shortly after this, but just before we wrap things up, I didn't want to make this video too long, but for some reason I feel like it's probably at like 20 minutes already. But anyways, we're going to go talk about Ice Beam here. Ice Beam's for the Landorus. Nothing too crazy about that. Basically, that's all it's for. Opt for Torrent. No one's really exploding right now. Torrent's really, really nice if you get down low. Scald it does definitely boost the Scald up, which is very, very nice. So, EV spread. Like I said, it was physically defensive. It's my Metagross answer. If you're going to use a Metagross into Swampert, Swampert's going to beat that Metagross 9 times out of 10 unless you get some sort of crit. You have a grass type beside it. And that's the biggest problem with Swampert. The biggest problem with Swampert is Rillaboom. Rillaboom, Kartana, and those big grass types. Right? But what's Rillaboom do to the rest of my team? Rillaboom doesn't really bother Zolt. Okay, yes, you don't really... Zolt doesn't hit it, but Rillaboom doesn't really hit you back. I mean, high horsepower, sure. But you can live one of those, especially with Intimidate, especially with Celestiala. Celestiala is the main Rillaboom threat. And then you also have Zapdos to really, if you really wanted to mess with Rillaboom, you have Zapdos as well. So, there's options there. Swampert was very well covered on this team. I don't know if Swampert's one of those water types you just go, hey, yeah, I need a water type, Swampert. You know, that's something you do with Tapu Fini. Oh yeah, I need a water type. Tapu Fini works here. You know, Tapu Fini is a slappable mon. Swampert, on the other hand, really needs to have the support to get going. But am I telling you, this thing was one of my MVPs. It was an absolute beast. Guys, the things this thing lives is unbelievable. Surging Strikes from Urshifu, I take a Surging Strikes plus a close combat. And you just live that and Earth Power kills in 3. It's unfortunate that Earth Power isn't a 2-shot, but unfortunately I can only do so much if I wanted it to live. The thing is, I need to live 2 attacks in order for Earth Power to do enough anyways, but long story short, Swampert's just an absolute beast, guys. 92 plus Expert Belt. I don't even remember what that was to pick up. I honestly couldn't tell you. I know there was something for it. All I know is the defenses were there basically for Metagross. The speed was actually for Metagross as well. I wasn't expecting to outpace a lot of Metagross, but I wanted to be able to at least maybe do something at +1. So 86 was a really nice number there. For that, of course, if I get the +1 speed after a Celestiala Airstream, I'm going to be outpacing 90% of the Metagrosses that were around. Because a lot of them hover around the 90s. Nothing too crazy. They'd probably hover around to outspeed max speed Amoonguss. Somewhere in that range. But Swampert, guys, it's a beast. Try it if your team can fit it. I really recommend trying it. But long story short, guys, really, really fun team here. If you're kind of done with Series 9 or you're a little bit bored with it, feel free to try this out, guys. It's really, really fun. Obviously, guys, the full paste is in the description if you want to try that, as well as the rental code. I don't like mentioning that at the beginning of the video, because what's going to happen is people are going to click on the video, click the team, try out the team, and then go, this team sucks, without watching how to play it. And, you know, without watching what things are for, you know? And then they're going to go, oh, this team's garbage. He just got lucky, you know? So I like hiding it to the end, kind of, at least. Obviously, people are going to check the description and do it anyways, but to the people that wait for me to say it, you at least know how to play the team a little bit better now. But regardless, standard leads, I think the best lead and probably the most common lead I would ever go with is Dracozolt Celestiala. There was a lot you could do with Dracozolt Celestiala. You lead Zolt, you lead Steela. If they go with an offensive game plan, you can have Steela, you can Steel Spike up, and you can cover that. If you feel like you need to pivot in Sand to get your Weather Boost and your Dracozolt going, you can do that as well. You have that option. You can just stay in. If they lead 2 slow pieces, you can just click Bolt Beak. You don't even need to pivot in T-Tar. And it just gave you options. That was all it really was. Celestiala Dracozolt was if you don't know what else to lead, and you're going to be bringing Zolt and Steela, it's a very safe lead. It covers a lot of options. Because you put pressure on Alecki as well with that, because you can have Swampert in the back, you threaten to steal a switch into Swampert, and Alecki doesn't really do a lot to Zolt. The worst thing it can do to you is, obviously Thunderbolt does like 30-40 from a Magnet, Life Orb Alecki, it does a lot, but they can't kill you, and you can just click Earthquake or Max Quake if you really want to. But just a heads up, do not be maxing Dracozolt that often, guys. It's not worth it. Stay out of max. That was one lead. Obviously, the Sand lead, if they don't have Intimidate, and Sand can just run over them, you lead Sand. It's that simple, guys. T-Tar Dracozolt is disgusting. Even if sometimes if they have Intimidate, you want them to bring in the Intimidate, you want to proc your policy, and you want to max your T-Tar. It's a viable option, guys. It gives you options as well. It's a very, very nice lead. Zapdos Galar, not a very common lead, but in a game 1, if they have 2 Intimidates, like if they have Incineroar and Landorus, chances are they're going to be bringing one of them. You can go ahead and lead Zapdos there, because if they actually do lead it, because a lot of the time, it's a mind game with the Defiant users, right? A lot of the time, people are just like, oh, they're not going to lead Zapdos, because they know I see the Zapdos, and I'm not going to bother leading Intimidate. So I'm going to go ahead and lead Intimidate. But if you just lead Zapdos, you catch their bluff, it's really, really nice, because once Zapdos gets going, guys, it's a force to be reckoned with. What other leads are there? I don't actually lead Swampert too often. I normally like Swampert and Incin in the back. They are very, very good pivots. They're just defensive switches, you know? If I lead Zolt T-Tar, you need to have a flying type in the back. That's one key that I do recommend. Otherwise, a ground type will just eat you for breakfast. But keep either Celestiala or Zapdos in the back if there's a ground type threat. Swampert, you need to keep in the back if they have an Alecki. You need Swampert if there's a Regieleki. I don't care if it's Regieleki and 5 grass types. If you don't have Swampert, there's a very good chance you lose the end game to that Regieleki. It is a very delicate matchup with Regieleki, especially those more offensive ones that like to go Burr and Dynamax, turn 1 and just slap people around. Like, if you don't have Zapdos there to at least completely wall it, you're in trouble. Swampert will live a Hyper Beam. Not a helping hand booster one, but Swampert will live a Hyper Beam. So if you need to take one, you can. Earth Power will pick up the Regieleki if they're not Dynamaxed, of course, because it's Expert Belt boosted. So nothing too crazy there. And with that, guys, I hope you enjoy the team, because it's done a lot for me. I'm pretty well done with it, and I know a lot of you guys have been saying, hey, Ryan, this is a really cool team. I want to, can I have it? Can I have the paste? Well, here you go. Paste rental team in the description. Please feel free to try it out, guys. You know what? It's a really fun team, and a lot of people are kind of fed up with building in this format, because it's like, oh, what are you building for? But you know what? It's a really fun team. If you're looking for something to use, please try it out. Don't play Sun. I don't recommend playing Sun. This team, on paper, its Sun matchup isn't terrible. In practice, its Sun matchup is very, very questionable. The problem being Venusaur, because you need to have Celesteala, but pivoting Celesteala is really, really, really difficult. Of course, you have the T-Tar. You can live the eruption from the Torkoal as long as you're out of the Sun. There's ways to do it. It definitely has win cons. It's just Sun also has its win cons versus you, and it just becomes a huge mind game, guys. It's literally turn 1. If I lead Incin, do they respect my fake out, or do they just sleep powder anyways? Do they call my Snarl? Are they gonna max the Venusaur here? But the thing is, at the end of the day, if they're Sun and they have an Alecki, like I said, you need Swampert. It's not a must-have, but it's nice to have. And in Dracozolt, you want Zolt for the Alecki as well. But the problem is the Venusaur, you don't really touch the Venusaur. Chances are there's going to be a Landorus as well. You don't touch that. Porygon 2 just makes that all in all even tougher, right? Because what you want to do is you want to find a way to get rid of that Porygon 2. Of course, Zapdos Galar really does help with that, because you can kind of taunt it. But the problem is, if I'm wasting a turn taunting with my Zapdos Galar in front of Sun, and they get aggressive on me, we're in a lot of trouble. So it's one of those games you don't want to play just because of all the mind games, right? Like, cause I could easily get away with Zapdos Incineroar lead, assuming they're gonna lead P2 Venusaur, go Snarl and Taunt. But the moment I do Snarl and Taunt, if I just taunt and they sleep powder, you know, it's just a mind game, and that's all it is. I never like playing Sun. This team doesn't have a quote-unquote Sun killer. It has a Sun matchup, but it doesn't have something that goes, oh yes, Sun. This is what I do every single time. There's no dedicated Sun matchup. It's one of those ones you kind of have to feel out how your opponent plays, which is not a matchup I'm happy with. I went, let me do some quick math. 4 and 3, 6, 6 and 1. 4 and 3, 6 and 2, 10 and 4. I went 10 and 4 in sets this weekend between the 2 tournaments. 3 of those losses were to Sun. One of those losses was a bit of hacks involved, but you know what? It's Pokemon. You're gonna get hacks at some point. But it is what it is, and it's not a great thing. Of course, I beat a bit of Sun as well, but like, You know, don't if you can avoid Sun with this team or somehow patch the Sun matchup, go ahead and do that. But I think regardless, with the core of this team, it's always going to be flipping coins. And I hate to say that, I don't like writing off a popular matchup as a coin flip, but it is what it is at this point. But it has so many good matchups. Glacier Trick Room, you can go right through. Spectre, you destroy. What else? Regigigas stuff, you lead Steela. They can't break Steela. It's over. Colossal, you have Dracozolt, you have Zapdos, you have Swampert, you have T-Tar. Shouldn't really be a problem as long as you can position properly. What else is there? Because those are the big common three I think in my head. Um, I guess Moltres, yeah, Moltres stuff isn't a problem. Anything stall sort of thing with Finny, also taken care of by Dracozolt. Um, like I said, that's most of everything. It's off the top of my head right now. I know I'm probably missing a few common matchups, but guys, the team is down there. I've probably rambled on probably for like 30 minutes now. I apologize. This was not the intention of this video. But guys, hopefully you do enjoy the team. If you want to try it out, feel free. Like I said before, paste rental team in the description down below. Feel free to give that a shot. But with that, guys, I'm going to get out of here, and I will catch you guys in the next video.